Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Treasures Galore. I have finally made time to make a video. Thank God. I've been dying to make one. I have spent the last few weeks in Kremlin, Colorado. I am doing a big stream remediation job, which is just a fancy way of saying I'm building fish ponds for this giant ranch up in Kremlin, Colorado. And it's probably one of the most fun jobs I have ever had. It's fun building fish ponds, and then on my off time, we rented a house up there, and I get to go fly fishing and hiking up in beautiful, beautiful country. So I can't complain. But this job is turning out to be a lot bigger than I thought. So in the end of July, early August, I will be on a probably 45-day hiatus. Now I will try to make videos at night and upload them, but I cannot promise anything. So work is super busy. We just keep getting jobs left and right, so that is good. And I will try to make videos as much as possible during this time. Now my job does slow up in the wintertime, as with dirt work and stuff like that. So I will get more involved later on in the year. So I apologize. I talked to Carter and kind of told him my situation. So I would love to get back doing live shows with him and then maybe do a show with Candy or whoever wants me on their YouTube channel. I'd be more than happy to. Just got to tell me when, and I will try to make time to be on there. So, anyways, this video isn't going to be going over the books or anything like that, but I wanted to make a video about the misconceptions in the Forrest Fenn community. And so I hear a lot of people say things and it doesn't exactly go with what Forrest Fenn has said or you know or anything that he said, really, any quotes or in the books or anything like that. And I'm going to give you some examples. So the first misconception that I hear is that when Forrest Fenn hid the chest, he did it one afternoon, which he did say he did, right? He hid it in one afternoon, but people say that he returned home right after that, and Peggy didn't even know he was gone. Now, there is some truth in that, but Forrest Fenn never said he returned home that day. He said, I made 2 trips from my car to the hiding place, and it was done in one afternoon. Okay, so all he says is he hid the treasure chest in one afternoon. He could have returned to a hotel. He could have returned to his car and drove home. We don't know. Forrest Fenn has never said that he returned home that day. So if he did, that would most likely mean it's within driving distance in a day from his house. So he's smarter than that. He did not say he returned home. As a matter of fact, there's a couple quotes on this that differ. But this guy asked, not even your wife knows? No, she doesn't know within 18 months of when I hid the treasure. And that was in 2016. Now, another quote, I believe, is he said 6 months. So those two differ a little bit, but his wife, that it is true, his wife didn't know, but he did not return home that day. And so the next one is something I'm kind of going to retract because of something K-Pro said. And I watched K-Pro and Carter's live show, and I don't know why. Somehow I missed her talking about this for some reason. I'm going to have to go back and rewatch the whole video, I guess. But I always hear that Forrest Fenn has said, give the poem to a child. Now, I've never seen that quote before. Now, he says, in the Moby Dickens interview, that this little girl says, do you think kids have a chance at finding your treasure chest? He says, oh, you scare me a little bit. And then he laughs, and then he says, oh, yeah, I think kids might have an advantage. I'm not going to tell you what that is, but, their eyes are better, they're more agile, and yada, yada, yada. but he never said to give the poem to a child. And then there's other one, I think Forrest Fenn Gets Mal. It kind of asks the same question, and he says, talking to this kid, that the smart ones might be able to find, his treasure chest, which I thought was interesting. He doesn't say the imaginative ones, but he says the smart ones. So, anyways, I've never seen him say that, and maybe I am completely wrong and Capro has something, or maybe it was in an interview. But before then, I've really never seen Forrest Fenn say give the poem to a child. Now, if you have seen that, please tell me in the comments below. I would love to see it. And so I kind of retracted that one. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. So, anyways, let's go on to the next one. So I've always heard that Forrest Fenn discovered the Rocky Mountains in 2013. Now, in his book, he says that it's hidden somewhere in the mountains north of Santa Fe. So I wasn't around during this time. I wasn't in the chase in 2010, 2011 when the chase, started going. And so apparently a lot of people thought that he meant New Mexico because it's in the mountains somewhere north of Santa Fe. And I always hear, if I kidnapped your daughter and I said in the mountains somewhere north of Santa Fe, would you think, Montana? Well, if I kidnapped your daughter and wrote a book and talked about how much I love Montana, which is in the mountains north of Santa Fe, then, maybe that's probably one of the first places I would check. But Why Must I Go came out with a video a little bit ago, and I never really caught this because I've never really believed it. But in 2011, he told Gotti Schwartz that, so in 2011, he says, just because I said in the mountains north of Santa Fe does not mean in New Mexico. It's not just in New Mexico. Sorry, I'm fumbling over my words. He says it can go up to Canada. So in 2011, he told us that just because he said that doesn't mean that it has to be hidden in New Mexico. So it could be the Rocky Mountains. So, he was saying that early on in the chase, that, it could be north. It doesn't have to be in New Mexico. Could be, but it could be somewhere else. So I thought that was interesting. And so let's go to the next one. So Forrest Fenn couldn't have went to Montana with cancer. He couldn't have made that trip when he had cancer, in the beginning, in his original plan to die along the treasure chest. He couldn't have made it. It's too far. He wouldn't have chanced taking a treasure chest and driving up there. And it's just too far for him, and it's inconvenient. Well, Forrest Fenn knew exactly where he wanted to hide the treasure chest the moment he thought about it. So he knew exactly where at the beginning, and he said he's going to make it work no matter what. So to me, that kind of abandons everything of convenience for him, and it's a special spot. So it could be, on the border of Canada and Montana, if that was his special spot, and he's going to make it work no matter what. So in the thrill of the chase, he said he had it all figured out besides one detail. And so then in Once Upon a While, we know what that detail is. It is, how would he do this by himself? He would need an accomplice, but two can keep a secret if one of them is dead. So that was a problem Forrest Fenn had, is how is he going to do it by himself? How is he going to get to the treasure spot and not leave a car or anything like that? Or rent something, you know what I mean, and leave it close, or just leave a trail pretty much. And so, it'd be best if you had an accomplice, but you can't trust anyone. So that was one detail short of that. So anyway, Forrest Fenn probably wouldn't have left right on his deathbed. He would have went before and planned it out and probably took 50 sleeping pills right next to the treasure chest. So he wouldn't wait until he's super sick and couldn't make the trip, right? And Forrest Fenn in the interview that Davio posted from the museum, I mean, he says he's been driving up there almost every summer, and he drove up there for the Buffalo Museum. So, just think that's interesting. Um, just to say that it can't be hidden up in Montana because of inconvenience, just makes me laugh. You obviously don't know the type of person Forrest Fenn is. He's going to make it work no matter what, and he does things his way. So, let's go on to the next one. And this is a good one. Dip your toe. Now, I know there's a lot of people that put a whole bunch of merit in this, but I'm going to call it a misconception. So he's told us that he would never give out a private clue to help anyone. He wouldn't do that. So, with him asking these three searchers, I think it's three searchers, if you dipped your toe in it and was it warm? Now, to me, he's just messing with them, and they had this spot and maybe the water is not even warm there. And he's like, well, did you even dip your toe in it and see if it was warm? And that doesn't mean that where warm water is hauled has to be a warm pool or stream of water. That just means he was asking people a simple question when they were telling him his solve. And I know I've said this before, but if that was true and you do have to dip your toe, or there's a possibility where you could dip your toe at where warm water is hauled, then that would eliminate a lot of where warm water is hauled. That would eliminate my where warm water is hauled, as in Canyon Street. The potholes aren't there anymore, the street's paved, and so you couldn't dip your toe in anything. You can't dip your toe in the train station, and you definitely can't dip your toe at the border of Yellowstone Park. And maybe there is a warm water right at the border, but if you're just going off the border, with the kettles and the smell bad and the caldera, that would eliminate that too. So that would eliminate all that I've had. And that would eliminate Carter's where warm water is hauled, because I'm not saying he has a where warm water is hauled, but one of his ideas is that it could be tears, which I completely agree with. It could be. But if you had to dip your toe in it, then that would eliminate that also. So he leveled the playing field when he told someone that where warm water is hauled is not a dam, and that's just eliminating one possibility. And so he felt compelled to level the playing field. And so it makes sense that if this was true, then he would level the playing field with us and tell us, yes, you have to dip your toe in the warm waters. So, calling that a misconception. Let's go to the next one. So, I have heard that none of the clues can be structures. And that is a misconception. Forrest Fenn was asked, Mr. Fenn, when you said not associated with any structure, did that mean all 9 clues or just where the chest sits? Forrest Fenn replies, yes, D. It means the treasure is not hidden in or about a structure. Google structure for more information. Okay, so he was asked this question back in 2014. Does that mean all the clues can be structures, or just does that mean where the treasure chest sits? And he says, yes, that just means the treasure chest is not hidden in or about a structure. So where the treasure sits, there can be no structure. And Google that for more information. He never tells us that none of the other clues can be structures. So that brings me up to my next one. Is if you have a clue and it can't stand the test of time, then are you wrong or are you right? So, like a structure, it's not going to last 1,000 years, and with my blaze, it's not going to stand the test of time. And so Forrest Fenn was asked this. Did the same 9 clues exist when you were a kid, and to your estimate, will they still exist in 100 years and 1,000 years? Forrest Fenn replies, the clues did not exist when I was a kid, but most of the places the clues refer to did. I think they might exist in 100 years, but the geography probably will change before we reach the next millennia. Okay, so the clues didn't exist because, well, he didn't write the poem, but most of the places the clues refer to did. Not all of them, most. So something happened since 1930 that one of the clues refers to. And it would make sense that it would be the blaze because I feel like Forrest Fenn put the blaze there. And so I think they might exist in 100 years. So, with that being said, I think they might be around in 100 years. There is no certainty that all the 9 clues are even going to be there in 100 years. I mean, there's like my home of Brown. I believe it is a barn. The home of his fawn-colored animal, or his cow, Bessie. And so there's barns that are, over 100 years old, and Eric Sloane loved to paint them. And there are trees that are over 100 years old. So, to me, it seems very plausible that these clues don't have to stand the test of time. And I'm just going off of what Forrest Fenn has told us. I'm not going off of hearsay or what someone heard, or a reporter heard. I'm going off of what Forrest Fenn has said and is given to everybody, because he won't give a special hint to anyone else. He felt compelled to level the playing field, and so that's how I base my solve and everything. I don't go off of hearsay or what someone heard, that was hanging around him. I got to go off of what he has released to the public and trust. I trust him that there's a treasure chest out there, so I got to trust him that he's going to be fair in this chase and give everyone an equal shot at finding this. And I believe that's how he set it up. So just going off of what Forrest Fenn said, I think they might exist in 100 years. So no certainty that the clues will even exist in 100 years. And at least one clue has been created or happened since he was born in 1930, or when he was a kid. But I think it's interesting that he says most of the places the clues refer to did, talking about a child. So does that mean that he was around those 9 clues when he was a child? Why bring that up to his childhood if he found it later on in his life, let's say in New Mexico? So with that clue, it just screams that Montana, Wyoming, in my opinion. Okay, so let's go to the next one. The chest isn't hidden on private property or Indian land. And also, you do not have to break the law to get the treasure chest. So Forrest Fenn has never said or never ruled out private property or Indian land. Never has he done that. If he was concerned about searchers trespassing and getting in trouble, then I feel like he would have eliminated private property by now, 10 years later, or Indian land. Remember, when he first thought of the chase, he had his place picked out and he was going to make it work no matter what. Now, he didn't choose his special place based off of what type of land it's on. He based this spot it's very personal to him. So, maybe it is hidden on private property or Indian land. We don't know. He has never ruled that out. So, in my opinion, you can't rule it out either. Now, I know there's common sense going into this saying, well, if it's hidden on someone else's property and you got caught, or, you had the treasure chest and they stopped you, that's their treasure chest. And I completely agree. Unless Forrest Fenn found a loophole to get in that property. Just like him talking about if you rent a cabin, which is on private property, what do you rent? Do you rent the stove? Do you rent the front yard? What if he hid a treasure chest on that? And also, what about another one that he brought up? What if it's hidden on private property and it's on an easement? Like the government has an easement on your land. What if he hid the chest on an easement? Now, I just think it's interesting that he brings up those scenarios about being on private property and what if. Just like think of the what ifs. So, Forrest Fenn has never ruled out private property or Indian land, and he's never said you don't have to break the law to get the treasure chest. Now, I'm not saying you have to, I'm just saying that Forrest Fenn has never ruled that out, and so neither can you. Okay, I bring this one up a lot, but the next misconception is you do not need the book. And Forrest Fenn has told us that you can find the chest with just the poem, but the book has hints that'll help. Okay, so I understand that. But when Forrest Fenn was asked, he says that you need to decipher what the clues mean. You know, a couple people deciphered the first two clues. So you have to use something to be able to figure out what these clues mean. Now, could you guess them on your own? Maybe, possibly. But with the book, it's going to help you and give you the hints to make you think the right things for the clues in the poem. And Forrest Fenn has told us that if you are serious about finding the chest, and also his advice on how to find it, is to read his book. The person that hid this treasure chest is telling us if you do want to find it and you are serious about it, this is what I would do. The person who created it all, that's what he would do. He would read the book. So, I think the book is really important, and if you do not, I think you're at a major disadvantage. I really do. Okay, let's go to the next one. This is a good one. Okay, so everyone brings up that Forrest Fenn said he only had to be right 85% of the time. So 15% of the time, maybe the book could be made up, but there's 85% truth in there. Now, did he really say that? Did he say he only had to be right 85% of the time? No, he just said non-fiction writers do. He never said he had to. And this was on I believe it was a scrapbook, but I'm on Terry Scanned. So Forrest Fenn writes, I was very careful not to say I needed to be correct only 85% of the time. Read it again. Middle of page 14. It doesn't help to stretch a tangent. Okay, so he was very careful not to say that he needed to be correct only 85% of the time. Now, does that mean that there's way more, truth than 85%? Or does that mean that there's not that much truth in the book? And I'm going to go with the latter. I believe that a lot of the thrill of the chase is made up to hide the hints for the clues in the poem. And some of it may have truth, like My War for Me, of course, that's, whether the waterfall's real or not, I do not know. But, there's a lot of truth in that. And in his later, about his later life with the gallery and stuff like that, there's news articles talking about the signs that say do not touch. So there's a lot of truth in that. But as far as his childhood, seems like there's a lot of stuff that's kind of made up. Just like the guy, Billy Joe Ray, or something like that would beat up on him, see how high he could bounce. and he'd wave a jar of green olives in his face. Seems, I don't know, seems far-fetched. If you're going to write a memoir about your life, why are you going to talk about that? Why are you going to talk about, these old biddies talking bad about you? And, just like Buffalo Cowboys, when they rope the buffalo and they're in their car. Now, if you look at the picture, it says the grin is real. But Skippy was photoshopped in that. There was no picture like that. He was just photoshopped. So maybe they did find a buffalo. Whether they hooked him with their car and did that, I'm guessing it's probably made up. And I mean, there's a lot more in that book that I believe is made up, or even borrowed from other literature, or pictures like the illustrations from Norman Rockwell. There's just a lot of stuff that I believe is just kind of made up to hide the hints. And, like he said, he never said that he had to be right only 85% of the time. He was very careful on not to say that. Okay, so let's go to the next misconception. And I don't know if you can really consider this a misconception. I don't know. So there's two quotes that he says, the woman wanted an additional clue, so I told her it's more than 300 miles southwest of Toledo. And then in this other quote, it says it's more than 300 miles west of Toledo. Now, I can't remember who wrote him and asked him if this was true, and he told us that the article, the reporter, and it might be Margie Goldsmith, I'm not sure, it was in the Huffington Post article that came out, but he said, and I don't have a source for this, I remember reading it and seeing the email posted online, but he told us that she misquoted him, and he never said southwest of Toledo. He only said it was west of Toledo. And so I remember seeing that. I can't give you a source. I'm sure someone listening to this video has heard that before, that it was a misquote on the southwest part. Okay, so let's go to the next one. The unintended clue in Too Far to Walk is 10 miles. Now, a lot of people believe that. A lot of people believe that Forrest Fenn just comes out and says that Too Far to Walk is 10 miles. I do not believe so. When he was asked about the unintended clue, he says, it doesn't take a genius to know what they think it is, or what they are talking about. So he's saying it doesn't take a genius to know what people think it is, but that is not the unintended clue. A lot of people think that, because it seems like obvious and hitting your face, but that is not it. Okay, so let's go to the next one. So this is one that I've heard a lot, is that, and this will be my last misconception. This video is getting kind of long, but Forrest Fenn tells us, if you're going to read anything, read My War for Me. Now, there is some truth to that, but you have to take what he was saying in context. He says, one second. If you don't do anything else, read that story. I think it's 7,500 words, but I'm very proud of that story. Okay, so he's talking about reading his book, and he says, if you don't do anything else, which means if you're not looking for the treasure and you're not interested about that, read this story, because it means a lot to me. So he's not telling searchers to say, hey, you need to read this story, and there's hints in it, it's super important. He's telling people, if you're not interested in the chase, if you don't do anything else, at least read the story. Which makes me feel that maybe there's not much in there, or maybe there is, and it is important. But in this context, he's just telling people that, if you don't do anything else, if you're not going to look for the treasure and read my book, at least read this story because it's super important to me. And, that story just kind of has a different vibe from, well, the whole front part of the book. The whole front part is, childish and, just very made up, for lack of a better word. So he's not telling searchers that that's a super important one with hints, although I think there are some hints in that. But with that quote, he is just telling people, hey, if you don't do anything else, just read this story. So, anyways, that is it for this one. I'm sure I'll think of a lot more coming. I wanted to get a video out. It is midnight on Friday, and I got to get up at 6. So I'm going to hit the sack. But thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys liked it. Comment, tell me I'm wrong, tell me I'm right. Just let me know your opinions, but just keep it civil. So, and I also try to not be so monotoned. I know a YouTuber, I got an email saying some YouTuber was talking crap, and I was just like, what? And he said, oh yeah, she said you were monotone, she couldn't even get to your videos, and I was like, okay, I mean, I'll try to do better. I'm open to criticism. And they're like, really, you're not mad? I'm like, no, I love that YouTuber. Why would I be mad? I'm always open for criticism, in constructive criticism. So, if you guys don't like something, tell me. I'll try to fix it. So, anyways, that is it. I will try to make another video here within a week or so. There's a lot I want to do. I got book reviews for 80, The Reverence for Wood, and The Catcher in the Rye. And The Catcher in the Rye is really good. I've got some things in that. They're awesome, and I really want to get that out to you. I also want to get out my solve, and I have a whole bunch of ideas for videos I want to do. So I will start taking notes and preparing for that, and I will see you guys in the next video.